get nervous speaking because I do it so much, but I have to tell you that made me nervous. And here's the thing. The song says, what do I want to pass on? You know, here's the last time that I get to speak to you, at least in this setting, in this situation. I will tell you this, that it's customary in Unity to invite an exiting minister back after a year for a reunion. So just put that in your memory bank. But I thought and thought, you know what? What do I want to pass on? What do I want to leave behind? And so I came up with a few things, some of which you've heard a bazillion times, but here they go again. You know I'm a list person, so I have a list. Love one another. That kind of sounds like a no-brainer. Love one another. But here's the thing. We can sit usually and say, oh, I love the world, I love humanity, peace on earth, It's the hardest to love those people that are closest to us. Because we see each other, we see the ins and outs, we know what the world might call flaws in each other. So what I would like to leave you with, love one another. And scriptures have been written and on and on and on, and they will continue to be written, telling you to love one another. And sometimes we think, okay, that's great, you know. How do I do that? In the trenches, loving one another means forgiveness. That is huge. Because I guarantee you, I promise you 100%, you're going to need forgiveness and you will need to forgive other people if you stay clean and open. Which I feel like that is what everyone here wants for themselves. Be a clean channel to hear what God has to say. Open. Looking at each other's similarities, releasing the things that maybe were not similar, and loving each other. That means no yammering behind each other's back. That means smiling sometimes when we just want to say, hush already, or something stronger. Those things that rub us a little bit the wrong way. Love one another. There is a whole course named Agreeing and Disagreeing in Love. Learn to agree or disagree with a person and still love that person. You don't have to see eye to eye all the time, but you can respect that person's right to make their own decisions. Journal. You're laughing because you've heard this a zillion times. Journaling is so many things. It can be therapeutic. It can be an aha moment for yourself. I couldn't tell you the number of times that I've journaled something and I think about it and I think, what? I've never even thought that thought before. You are way wiser than you think you are. You are way smarter than you think you are. Journal, 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 journal. If you're concerned about somebody reading something that you've written, you don't want people to read whatever it is, like you're trying to get something out of yourself. Journal and then destroy it. Shred it, burn it, do whatever, flush it down the toilet, whatever you need to do in order to feel safe, to put your thoughts down on paper. When you leave today, I have little journals for everyone. They have different sayings on the front. Some of them are plain for those of you who want to have your journal out in public and you don't want people to know what you're doing. So they're plain on the outside. I only have a few of those. Non-attachment. That's one of the things that I learned from my time in Buddhism, non-attachment. Everything is temporary. Nothing is permanent. God is the only, for sure, all the time, always there, never changing. That's it. Everything else changes. So to be able to take what comes and goes without attachment. Years ago, probably, 30 years or more, there were these two ladies on TV because they were twins and they had just turned 100. Two of the cutest African-American ladies. They were in an assisted living place, I think, and so the interviewer asked them, what if you could pick one thing, what do you think would be the thing that has helped you most in getting to be 100 years old? And one of them piped up and said, making the most of what comes and the least of what goes. After all these years, I still remember that because that is huge. Let things flow through your life. Yes, we want to hold on to those things that are loving and wonderful and feel good and all of that. But just love it for the time that it's here and know that it's temporary. What else would I want you to know? You know, I have to say this. Meditate. Meditate, meditate, meditate. Meditation is, and it doesn't have to take, sometimes we think of meditation as taking a special form or a technique, and if you don't do it that way, you're not doing it right, and, just forget that. There are so many techniques and so many ways to meditate that choose one. Make up your own. But it is so very important that we spend time on a regular basis alone with the God of our understanding. It is so very important. When we get quiet and still, this is where we get instruction. This is where we get those things that, ever get an attagirl or an attaboy from God? In meditation, many times that comes to me. It'll come to me. And I've shared with you, when one of the ways that God speaks to me is thoughts that are not my own. And when I would be in meditation, then an incident or something that I said would come to me. And all of a sudden, God speaks to me in the shortest message possible. I would be thinking of a certain thing as I'm moving into meditation, and I would hear these words, good job. Good job. Now, you don't want to miss those kinds of things. Meditate. I have ways of finding out whether you're doing it or not. I have people everywhere. And in meditation, this is where one of the ways that we get guidance. We can get guidance off of a billboard, out of a magazine, out of a conversation, out of something that we can just overhear something that will be uplifting to us. Excuse me. God speaks to us in many ways. We are guided in many, many ways. Usually, if you really focus on it, there are a few ways that God usually guides you. For me, it's conversation or something that someone else says, and then it's those thoughts that are not my own. That just, boom, there they are. Guidance. Listen to your guidance, and a main part of that is follow the guidance that you get. When I decided to go to seminary and sold my 2 businesses of 23 years and my home of 28 years. I know some of you have heard this story before, but here it goes again. Some people said to me, wow, it takes a lot of courage. That takes a lot of courage. But you know, by that time in my life, I realized it takes far more courage to hear guidance and not follow it than it does to follow the guidance that I get. Because I know that God is not going to give me something and say, do this, without giving me every single thing it takes in order to get that done. When at times in my life when I have heard my guidance and for whatever reason just decided to skip over it, made a conscious decision not to do it or whatever, then I get to live with what happens after that. It takes more courage not to follow guidance than it does to follow your guidance. I knew this time was going to whiz by. Okay. One thing that I want to say is, or several things I want to say. This church, meaning the people, because if every building on this property went away for some reason, you all would gather up somewhere else and you would be a church again. You are the church. These buildings are good to come together, to meet in, and we very much appreciate these buildings, but realize when I say the church, I mean you and the people, some people that are not here this morning. When Carrie Kenyon from Unity Worldwide Ministries came here, she did our board training. She spoke on Sunday morning. And one of the things that, after everybody had gone, the 2 of us got together. And she said, at one point, she said, this is a healthy church. You may have your challenges, but this is a healthy church. And here are the things. Markers of a healthy church. Increasing attendance. Increasing average attendance. A strong youth department. Strong lay leaders. You only have to look around and you see leaders everywhere in this church. You may not consider yourself a leader, but if you do anything, any volunteer work here, you are a leader. You are showing someone what it's like to love the church where you go. Community involvement. My goodness, a week ago we had the Multicultural Holistic Fair. I mean, come on. Wasn't it great?
Yes.
Yeah. Raise your hand if you had anything to do with seeing that it happened, that it went on. Look at that. Look around. I'm telling you, this church is full of leaders. And Reverend Carey could see that too. Classes and workshops offered on a regular basis. There is almost not a night that something isn't going on here. Sometimes it's hard to find a night to squeeze something in because something goes on. Classes, book study, AA groups, and various things. Gatherings for the purpose of fellowship and fun. We're about to do that after this is over. Just gathering together, just having a good time with each other, just loving each other and smiling a lot. And finances and prosperity consciousness is also a marker. And recently, this church has had some challenges in that area. But think about it. Where in your life have you grown the most? When you're in a challenging situation. Because, and the more challenging it is, or the bigger degree it affects your life, the more focused and in the present moment we are. I mean, think about it. We're on the upswing right now, and I'm saying we because I'm telling you, a part of my heart is always going to be here. Always. You're my family. In the 12-step program, I found this phrase that I like a lot. Family of choice. No matter what you were born into, maybe you get along with those people, maybe you don't. We get to have a family of choice, and you are my chosen family, like it or not. This is a healthy church. And that is my humble but correct opinion. You knew I had to say that. This is a healthy church. And the last thing that in my list is back to number one. When in doubt about any of these other things, go back to number one. Love each other. Love each other. You do not have to be each other's very best friend in the whole world. But you can love each other. You can want the best for each other. You can hold each other in respect because you choose to do that. And I see that in this church. Okay. I titled my talk today, Success. Many years ago, I read this poem by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And you would think, well, no, I'm not going to go there. I was about to say, you would think by now I would have memorized it, but no. Memory is not, it's something of a challenge for me, let's say that. Always has been from the time I was a kid. That was the most trouble I ever got in, was forgetting things, but I digress. Anyway, Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote a poem, and the name of it is Success. And to me, that is what I see for my life. This is my life. You'll probably recognize it. To laugh often and much. To win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children. To earn the appreciation of honest critics. And I've had some in here. That's not a put down. I welcome that. And endure the betrayal of false friends. To appreciate beauty. To find the best in others. To leave the world a bit better, either by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social situation. To know that even one life has breathed easier because I lived, that is to have succeeded. And I consider my life a success. So, those of you that were here for my first talk, you may remember that I started it just without saying a word, just by singing. You'll be able to chime in. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God.